One. Welcome to OState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in, fans. Today we have another interesting show because there's a lot to talk about, and we are bringing in Chase Witwiska, and this is our Unfiltered show. We may go to Alaska and back. Who the hell knows? But we're going to have a lot of fun, right?
That's right. 100%.
Speak your mind. This is our Unfiltered show, Chase.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of these things are just set off the top of the dome. So we'll go with it and see what happens.
All right. Tell us what you think. Clint Blowen is in. Hell, I can't remember his name. He was at Oklahoma State for about 30 minutes and took, I think, $9 million away from the university. What's his name? Todd Grantham?
Yeah.
Okay, Clint Blowen is in. Todd Grantham is out. Your thoughts on that? I kid.
You can't get any worse. I mean, the defense is atrocious. I mean, it's horrible. You had guys that – and here's the thing that I thought about watching the defense over and over again is you've had guys that have been in the Oklahoma State program for a while on that defense and have had experience. You can't use that excuse of, oh, they have so many new players for the defense. I don't think you can do that. And one of the guys that stuck out to me, at least on Saturday, and he's entered the portal since then, was Dylan Smith.
Did he actually enter, or did he just say he was going to? He did.
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so. And I'm going to be honest with you, there were at least 3 touchdowns on Saturday that I saw that he was responsible for. A lot of those where he was looking in the backfield and biting on a play fake and things like that. Just completely out of position multiple times. And I don't want to take away from what he did or what he's done prior to this year. He had a big moment in Bedlam, the final Bedlam, just as a freshman. But at the same time, watching the defense on Saturday and then seeing the back of his jersey trying to chase a receiver down the field, I saw multiple times, and it was multiple times when they scored. That being said, like I said, Clint Bowen's a guy that has experience. Defensive coordinator, I think this is his 4th school to be a defensive coordinator at. Kansas, North, Texas, and Western Kentucky.
Was he the defensive coordinator at Kansas, or was he just the safeties coach?
He was for a little bit.
Okay.
He was under it starts with an M, I think.
Mark Mangino.
Yes.
So he was there when they were winning.
Mm-hmm. And then I believe so. And then he was on staff with Les Miles, but I think he was just a position coach. I don't think he was calling the defense.
Safety.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think one thing that we're seeing with this Oklahoma State defense, and I think I was a little bit hard on the effort level. I think when you have a whole bunch of scheme in, it makes your players think, and then when they think, they look very slow. It's paralysis by analysis. And then that slow look comes off to people like me that don't know their ass from their head when it comes to football. That looks like a lack of effort. Are you following what I'm saying? So I think probably I'm hoping I misdiagnosed that last night. I've thought about those comments all day. I was like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have challenged somebody's hustle, and effort on the field. But then when you relook, it does look too slow, though. And so I want to retract. I'm kind of being a chicken shit here because I said it. I probably need to stand by it. And now I'm playing both sides of the fence. So if you want to rip my ass for that, that's absolutely great. If you can't tell, this is our Unfiltered show, right? And I totally get that. So let me say this. I think the playing slow part of the defense is more about the players just thinking too much than it is reacting, if that makes sense.
I get it. Here's where I'll kind of come to your defense in terms of what you said yesterday. I think, you called out the defensive line. I played defensive line. There's not a whole lot of thinking when you're down. I'm just being honest. That's one of the easier positions to play on, not from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Defensive line is one of the easiest positions that you can play on the defense. It's not even close. Because you have just a few reads. So to come to your defense in terms of what you said yesterday, I don't necessarily disagree with you because, like I said, playing defensive line is not a draining. It doesn't drain you mentally. It's not like playing linebacker or safety where you have to read this, and this. You're reading the steps in front of you, and at the end of the day, your job is to either plug up a hole or sack the quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the only two things that you really have to think about on the defensive line. And if you have this little misconception of, crap, what am I supposed to do on this play? Chase the football.
Yeah.
I mean, really, chase the football.
Or just maul the guy in front of you and create
Right,
penetration,
right.
you know.
Or, yeah, like I said, plug a hole. So in terms of what you said, I don't think you were wrong, because I don't think that there's a whole lot of thinking that goes on, especially on the defensive line. And I'm not calling anybody out, but
I just hated that I called out names.
It.
That was terrible. And I have gotten no blowback from it. Trust me. This show is pissant enough to where nobody in that organization even knows this is going. So this isn't like I got blowback, or this was just me like, dude, that was really, really stupid of me to call out names. I think it's probably fair to the effort part, but just don't call out names. But I do that, Chase, because it's not because I'm trying to, rip on people or dog people out. It's because that's how much I think of how talented these guys are and how disappointed I am in the way that they played to this point. And, is that another cop-out too, or is that fair?
No, I mean, here's the thing is Aiden Kelly is a good player. I know he's a good player.
Yes.
So yeah, they part of being a good player is you have high expectations, from you shouldn't have them not only for yourself, but the other people around you should think highly of you too. So I think that's where you were coming from when you said those things. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what's going to happen with Clint Bowen, here's what I'm excited about. I think you're going to get way less scheme and way more concentration on execution. So when you're talking about execution, Chase, on defense, let's see if we can all agree on this. If I were to ask you, okay, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to go, Chase, this team needs to learn how to execute on defense. I want you to spend every single second of practice this week. I don't care if you put in one play and the only thing the defense can do is line down and that's it. They can't even run a play beyond that. What I want this defense to be able to do is execute and play fast. Where do you start with that? When you start drawing up your practice plan, where do you start?
Start with tackling.
Yes. Okay, good. Where they're. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Well, that's the thing too, and I take that from I watched the press conference yesterday. I watched him speak.
Yes.
Listened to what he had to say, and I really liked it, to be honest with you, because he's a very, I don't know him, but he seems like a very fundamental guy. If you can tackle and you can chase the football, those are two big things on defense that you've got to be able to do, and that seems to be what he talked about over and over again with, hey, this is what we've got to do. This is what we have to fix, because the tackling has been atrocious. The pursuit of the football has not been great.
No.
It is, and those are two things. If you're not doing those two things, you could have Jim Knowles up and calling your plays, but if you're not doing those two things, your defense isn't going to be worth anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So what I liked about this kind of vibe was like, hey, we're not going to win because of me, right? I mean, but we could lose because of me, because I haven't taught my kids the proper fundamental ways of playing. And so what he put on his shoulders was, okay, there is a universal amount of defense that whether you're in an odd stack, whether you're in a 4-2-5, whether you're in the 3-4, the 4-3, the old bear defense, whatever defense it may be, okay? There are certain principles that every defense has to do regardless of scheme, and if my defense isn't doing that, that is my fault. I love the fact that he put that entire part of the defense and that aspect of it on his shoulders, and that tells me that he is taking that personal to get that part fixed.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's a great place to start. I don't know what was going on with the defense. I don't know the plays that were being called. I don't know any of that. I will say with one issue, and this is off the top of my head. One issue with bringing in an NFL guy is he might try to bring an NFL scheme into a college atmosphere. They're two different games. Football is football, but at the same time, college football is played different than NFL football.
Their rosters are constructed differently. Yeah.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing: you see a lot more fast-paced offense. You're facing a much more fast-paced offense in college than you are in the NFL. So I'm not trying to pick sides. I'm not trying to make excuses, but at the same time, I wonder if he was trying to go too fast for himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Trying to get to the scheme first and then back up to fundamentals. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I could be wrong when I say this, but I think calling a defense in a college football game may be slightly harder than calling it in an NFL game, because you're able to see personnel. There is huddle. There is, hey, this is the personnel that the offense has on the field right now, as opposed to in college, it's bam, 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 bam. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not picking sides, because I thought the defense was so horrendously bad. But at the same time, when you're thinking of a guy that came from the NFL back down to college, that was the one thing that came across my mind was, I wonder if it's moving too fast for him. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
So let me give you this. You're a pitcher, a college pitcher. You're the recruiting coordinator at NOC Enid, right? Okay. So I got in more into the hitting part of baseball. So if you're wanting a pitcher to like throw a certain pitch to a certain location, there's two ways of doing that as a coach. One is you can say, hey, I want you to throw this pitch to that location and just let them have at it and let them do it until they figure it out, what grip, what arm slot, how to actually execute that. Or you can just say in your mind, well, this is the end result I want. And then you can teach them from a mechanical perspective to get to that spot. And then from the mechanics you taught them, then they throw it to that location because of the mechanics you taught. So that's two different ways to get to the same spot. Offensively, it's like I used to like to tell kids, instead of just going and working on mechanics on a tee, I used to like to just say, hey, let's hit the ball to right center, okay? Because I felt like if you're telling a kid to hit the ball to right center, that's a better approach than saying, hey, quit swinging up at it, or hey, quit hitting the ball out front, hey, let it travel. I just thought saying, hey, think right center. I just felt like that from a mind perspective fixed everything, but that's different for everybody. So I say that to say it feels like, instead of working on all the fundamentals that can get you to all the exotic schemes you want to run, which may take 11 weeks, which I don't think Todd Grantham felt like he had. It felt like he put in a scheme and tried to let the scheme of things, kind of fool the offense to the point to where the fundamentals then week by week could catch on to get to that. So it kind of felt like he had it backwards. It felt like he threw the scheme in first and then hoped that the scheme was good enough to allow the fundamentals to come along, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and to go kind of more off that point, again, I'm not saying that NFL teams don't work on tackling and all that stuff, because I know for a fact that they do.
It's limited.
Right, but that's something in college that you've got to work on. You've got to do those things, and it's kind of like your everydays, like in baseball, especially for infielders. There's different drills that we would do every day just to keep the feet going, get the hand going, things like that. Tackling should be an everyday thing, and it doesn't have to be a full-blown contact. Tackle a tackling dummy, work on some sort of form to where, you're not putting your body at risk, but you're still working those mechanics in terms of how to, as stupid as it sounds, how to make a tackle. Because you can almost go to square one when it comes to this defense tackling and be like, hey, you got to wrap the legs, you got to do, so on and so forth, because it's been that bad.
Yeah.
So
you want to know the best way to tackle? If you want to fix your tackling, you want to know the best way to do it?
What's that?
Make the running back run sideways. The biggest problem we have in our tackling right now is that a guy like Bryson Washington is 4 yards deep before he's touched. And if you let a guy who's 230 pounds or whatever he weighs, 220, whatever it is, he's a big dude. You let that dude get going, okay? And Parker Robertson, which bless his heart. I mean, hey, man, I want Parker Robinson in my foxhole every day and twice on Sundays. That dude is awesome to watch. He plays for the brand. Nobody will ever be able to say anything negative about that dude. And if you don't know who that is, that's number 8, okay, in front of me. We'll have words if you do, because he's absolutely awesome. But having said that, if Bryson Washington is 6 yards deep and he has a full head of steam heading towards Parker Robertson, and that's the 13th time it's happened in a game, I mean, that's what's the problem with your tackling. So instead, if you do like you said, you plug the hole initially, you make Bryson Washington stop his feet, you make him hesitate, you make him maybe run sideways a little bit. Now the tackling becomes a lot easier because you are the one making the impact.
Yeah. No, 100%. I 100%. And if you want to speak from a defense perspective, I think everything starts. We were talking about the defensive line. Everything starts with the defensive line, because
Yes.
if the defensive line does not do their job and fit their gap correctly, or plug the hole correctly, the whole play's a bust. You
Yeah.
know, that's a guarantee. If they're running stretch, it doesn't matter. If they're running stretch, the end gets reached. That's a guaranteed. You're getting at least 4 or 5 yards.
No doubt.
Off the stretch.
No doubt.
You know?
Well, we saw that with Rodney Fields on the first play of the offensive game for OSU. That's exactly what happened.
Exactly. And again, coming from, because I played defensive line, coming from that perspective, I played DN. Coming from that perspective, there's still not a whole lot of reads to be made. You know,
Right.
It's if he steps out, I
Keep
step
the
out.
outside
If he
hand
steps
free,
down, I
squeeze
step
down
down.
if you don't have force, that kind of thing.
If he steps at me, I step at him. I mean, you're mirroring everything the guy in front of you does, because he's telling you where he's going. He's telling you where the play's going. Beat him to it. It's
and if he
that simple.
disappears, look for the puller.
Yeah, exactly. Then you put your head on a swivel and say, okay, find the guy's hip. Find the guy's hip.
That's another thing. We never wrong arm pullers. So, like, because we don't wrong arm pullers, we get kicked. You know, that H-back comes and kicks our 9-tech. And because of that, we're playing a 3-tech or a 4-eye. They're blocking down on our 3-tech, 4-eye player. They're kicking our 9-tech because he doesn't wrong arm the puller. And that's leaving that big old C-gap hole open. That if from a schematical perspective, that's the first thing Oklahoma State has to fix. And the way you do that is, as soon as that you see that guy blocked down in front of you, that tackle, as a defensive end, you squeeze down the line, right? You squeeze down the line, you eliminate the space between you and the 4-eye guy. Then when the H-back or whoever the guy pulling is, you just wrong arm that guy. So if you wrong arm that guy, you create a wad. Then the running back sees that wad. The running back has to stop and bounce it outside. That's the kind of fundamental crap that Oklahoma State has not done. That literally Clint Blow, and that's the first thing he has to clean up is, hey, first of all, we need to squeeze down the line instead of continuing to play wide. And then once we see that tackle block down, we need to squeeze down, keep our outside hand free, wrong arm the puller, kick that thing outside. Now you have a Parker Robertson who is coming downhill and tackling a back that hasn't even got its feet started again yet. Now he's the one in control. That's the kind of stuff OSU's got to get fixed.
Well, and honestly, you should have 2 guys outside if they're fitting it correctly, because you should have your outside linebacker coming to fill a hole. Correct. And then you should have Robertson over the top that's coming to assist with that. So worst case, the linebacker misses the tackle instead of the linebacker missing.
I'm assuming misdirection though, like a split zone play.
Right. I mean, even if the linebacker misses a tackle, instead of a 14-yard gain, you're looking at 7.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if your linebacker makes the tackle, then you're looking at a 2-yard gain or 3-yard gain, which big deal. You know, so you can play slow, you can play fast on the defensive line. It doesn't matter. But if you're not fitting a puller, and if you, like you said, wrong arming a puller, then that gap completely opens up, and it makes the back 7. It makes
there's a reason
really
they're blocking down on the 3-tech. They're trying to open up there's a reason they're blocking down the 3-tech or the 4. It's because they're trying to open up that C gap, right? I mean,
well,
there's a reason that's happening.
In cases where there are 2 pullers, one's getting your linebacker, one's getting your D end, and there's a massive hole that says running back and safety, you're one-on-one. Who's going to win? Probably your linebacker, you know? Probably your running back. You know, so it all starts with the defensive line, and I think the more I talk about it, I think the secondary is bad. The defensive line is where I think I'm the most frustrated.
100%. That's exactly because until you make it 2nd down and 10, think of the 3 and outs for Oklahoma State on Saturday, Chase. Okay, the 3 and outs for Oklahoma State on Saturday. What was it on 2nd down? 2nd down and what?
Some kind of 2nd and 10.
9 or 10, right? Yeah. So if it's 2nd down and 4, and you're playing Baylor with a 225-pound running. I've said 230, I've said 220, I've said 225. Obviously, you can tell I don't know how much.
He's a big fella.
He's a big fella. If it's 2nd down and 4, man, that's not a good deal, right? I mean, just give them the first down. I know Oklahoma State had a couple of stops, but that's kind of my point. Until you learn how to stop the run without having to bring all 9 guys up to do it, that's a number 1. And then number 2, Jim, I will give Todd Grantham some leeway on this one because Jim Knowles made the exact same mistake. If you remember, Jim Knowles came into Duke with this very aggressive 4-2-5. His outside safeties were both they would scream downhill, and they were very aggressive on the run game. And then what teams were doing was they were giving an outside, like a stretch look, an outside zone look, or some kind of wide outside run play. Our safeties would scream downhill, quarterback would pull the ball and hit it in the hole, right? And our backside safeties didn't have time to roll over. That's why Brian Nutter's defense was good the first year, because you had that third safety that could roll over the top. So the mistake that Todd Grantham has made, with the biggest one from a down-to-down perspective, is that he has put in a schematical defense that has put your safeties in run-pass conflict without anybody close. That's why the three high safeties is such a good defense nowadays, because that's why the odd stack is so good. Because if you give a run look, say, to the field side, the widest side of the field, that safety comes down to fit the run, right? Well, that gives you that middle safety, which that first year with Nardo was Kendall Daniels. That middle safety, or Trey Rucker, can then roll over the top in pass coverage, right. And you have a run player with the play side safety. You have a pass player with the middle safety that's rolling over, and you still have a backside player to take care of any kind of running back that might swing out, or a quarterback that keeps the ball and threatens the other side of the formation. So the next thing, in my opinion, that Clint Bowen has to figure out, he has to make it to where this Oklahoma State defense, from a safety perspective, has run players, and then they have pass players, because as long as we continue to put Parker Robertson on Michael Trigg, who's in a slot, and then Parker Robinson's job is to stop the run in the alley, but then also stop the pass down the seam, that is never going to work. Parker Robertson either needs to be a run player or he needs to be a pass player. You got to figure out how to rotate it to make it that way.
No, 100%. I mean, here's the other thing too: is if you're running the too high look, those guys that are both your too high guys should be pass players, unless you're running some sort of stunt and you're firm and you full on believe, hey, they are running the football right here. I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe that your too high safety look, they should both be pass first, because when they're not, you get an example of what you saw on Saturday, which is Baylor's receivers or H-backs
tight end going right down the middle, because we're in run pass conflict.
Over the top. The seam is wide open, and you can't expect your backside safety to come and cover the middle, because right. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's smart and they run two post routes, your guys are sitting there dead in the middle. Yeah, which one do I take? And then whichever one he does take, the other one's wide open. It's that would not, as an offensive coordinator, that would not be hard to call against. Especially if you have two choices, one of their safeties out of complete. I mean, he's playing straight on run.
Yeah,
that is the easiest. The easiest way to call offense is when you got one high safety, you know what he's doing.
Yeah, that cover three look, because you can absolutely. Oklahoma State has absolutely torched that cover three look, no doubt. Okay, so you have two choices in a 40 front, which I'm not necessarily. I don't like the 30 front. I'd like the Oklahoma State to keep the 40 front. I think they need to do that. So you have two choices. You can either have a half player that Coach Gundy used to always talk about, because you're going to have 6 in the box. You're going to have 4 secondary guys, 2 safeties, 2 corners. That's 10. So with that 11th player, you can either line them up to the field, because you assume all the action is going to be to the field, right? And he can be a spot drop player in the pass game, and then also that alley run game player. You can do that, or you can just from Film Scout, you can figure out, okay, which side of the field are they most likely to run it wide to, and in that scenario, you line up that 11th player, that extra guy, that half guy. I say half because he's half run, half pass, and then you have safeties behind that. You can line him up to the side of the field where on film you have identified where they run it wide, or this is my preference, okay? You take that third safety, okay, and you put him in the middle of the freaking field. And what that allows you to do is play that same 3 high shell that Brian Nardo was playing 2 years ago that worked so well. That allows your play side safety to be that run player. That allows that middle safety to be the pass player to that side. That allows that backside safety to be the one that gets over the top. So, in my opinion, which nobody's going to ask my opinion, and like I said, I don't know my ass from my head, I would just line up in a 4-2, 2 linebackers, 4 down linemen. I'd play a lot of stunt games up front. I would blitz. I would gap replace with linebackers and linemen up front. And I would go to that 3 high shell. I would tell my play side safety, if you even sniff run, get your ass down there on the line of scrimmage. Middle safety can cover the pass game over the top. That's how I would clean up that run-pass conflict. And again, Coach, I don't like to bitch unless I have solutions. So there's my solution.
Well, it's valid. It's definitely valid. I mean, like I said, we're sitting here discussing X's and O's, and we're not making a dime. You know.
No, and probably neither one. Probably if Coach Bowen watched the show, he'd be like, "These guys are dumbasses, man. Yeah. I'm turning this shit off." That's probably how you would handle that situation.
That's okay. It's for entertainment. It's out of the fun of it. But I don't know. I just think the simpler that you can make this defense, especially right now that it's so bad, the simpler you can make it, the better it's going to be.
You got to fit gaps and tackle. That's the first 2 things you got to do.
And pursue the football.
Yeah,
you do.
Right.
Yeah, you do those 3 things, and you're going to be just fine. Enough about the defense. The offense. The offense looked better. It looked a lot, but in the first quarter or the first half, it did for sure.
Okay, this is an unfiltered show, right? We call this Chase Unfiltered, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you weren't very high on Zane Flores the first week. Okay, surely we've changed your mind at least a little bit.
He's gotten a little bit better. I'm not gonna say that he's good because I don't believe.
But should he be good 3 games into his career with the talent around him?
It's hard to say. There's things that he could do better that I'm seeing.
Sure.
He's horrible at throwing on the run. Horrible. A lot of those passes that you're seeing skip, literally 4 yards in front of the receivers are.
Is he horrible at it, or does he just need to get better at it?
I think there's a lack. There's a lack of understanding.
Because when you say horrible, I think that goes to actual physical talent.
I mean, it's hard to say because when you see him roll out, it's just like, oh dear God, underthrown pass unless they're in the flat. I don't think he uses his body well. I just don't. I mean, with that tall, lanky type of frame, he's almost like a pitcher coming over the top. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when you're on the run, you've got to maneuver your body just a little bit and understand what that ball is going to do. With your momentum going towards the sideline, obviously that ball's not going to sail. So you're going to have to figure out how to get the ball in the dang air. You know, I would be less upset, and it's going to sound dumb. I'd be less upset if he was overshooting on passes that he's rolling out on. But anytime he rolls out, he's not giving a receiver any chance to catch the football because it's bouncing.
Or if they do, they're not in position to run afterwards, that kind of thing.
Exactly. I don't think he's good at throwing on the run. I do think he looks a little bit better. I think he's in a better scheme that's starting to fit him just a little bit more. At the same time, I think as soon as Haas Haney comes back, that's your quarterback.
100%.
You know,
I don't even think that's a hot take.
You never know what people are going to say, you know, but it's clear that he is a backup quarterback at this level. I don't see him being.
I think that's unfair. I think it's clear that he needs time to develop, and Oklahoma State doesn't have that time. He's not plug and play right now.
Well, and when I said at this level,
I think by this time next year he'd be damn good. Personally, that would be my opinion.
I think he needs to go to North Texas or you know, Abilene Christian, something like that. He doesn't. I don't think he's a Power 4 quarterback right now, and I don't know if he will be.
But right now, the key to that's my point.
It could be, but then again, I said I don't know if he will.
I think he could be a good Power 4 quarterback, but I don't think it's like he's not going to be that necessarily the third. And I don't think he was bad by any stretch, but I think by this time next year, I think you would. Like Garrett Rangel, I think, showed that. By the time he got more and more experience, you're like, oh, damn, I didn't know this guy was that good, right? I mean,
right.
I don't think he's as fast as Rangel, but I think we're being a little bit premature 3 games in, considering the fact that the receivers aren't great, the offensive line's not great. He's had 2 different coaches, so he's been here for 3 years, but he's had 2 different offensive coordinators. I think we're being a little bit rough on him there, brother.
I don't know. I think part of my frustration comes from me along with everybody else bought the hype on the kid, and now it's become disappointing almost because you've heard so much. Yeah. He's really good, really good.
Is that his fault?
No, it's not. I'm not blaming him by any means. I'm more blaming myself for biting at the hype. I just, to me, if you want to compare him and Rangel, because you brought Rangel up, I think Rangel has more tools for him to be more successful at this level as opposed to Flores. I think Flores is slow when it comes to reading defenses.
Of course he is. It's his third college game.
Right. He doesn't pick up. He doesn't
is.
pick up blitz very well. But at the same time, and again, a lot of this comes with inexperience.
He doesn't pick up the hot read out of the blitz.
No.
He stays on his initial receiver and doesn't
Right.
get to the hot read. Like when I say hot read, like, okay, whoever's blitzing, who is he supposed to cover? He doesn't find that guy.
Right. No, and that's what I mean by slow. And I also don't. He's not fast enough. Move. He doesn't run well enough to kind of avoid that pressure. And then it comes to, it doesn't really seem like he wants to get hit, which I know nobody wants to get hit, but then he's throwing off his back foot and making a bad throw, or he's trying to run away. And as soon as he's out of the pocket, not a whole lot of good happens.
Dude, you're a savage when it comes to quarterbacks. You know that.
I know. I'm just ultra critical because in my opinion, if you have a good quarterback, you're gonna be a good football team. I think those two correlate.
Well, look at Arizona State. People talk about Scattaboo. They talk about Dillingham. Hey, fine, great. 2 years ago, they had a running back. They had Sam Jackson, the fifth playing quarterback at Arizona State. That's who they finished the year with. They were terrible. Sam Leavitt. And then it's all the difference in the world. Right. I know they've got some players around it, but they had a lot of those receivers 2 years ago. Okay. So literally at this level, at any level really, but certainly at this level where the talent is so similar in most of these teams, even with Oklahoma State, we saw on Saturday, the talent, is at least somewhat similar. Okay. I don't think Oklahoma State quite has as much, but a really, 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 really good quarterback can be the difference between being a really good team and being a really bad team. Yeah. I mean, Alan Bowman did a good job 2 years ago. Okay. I'm not going to let you say his name. I can say his name, right? Okay. We all have to admit Alan Bowman did a good job 2 years ago. He did a terrible job last year. And because of that, you take the exact same players. One team's really good. One team is really not good. Yeah.
Well, and again, I think that's where the criticism of the quarterback comes out of me is because he's so average, I guess, if you want to use that term, because he's so average, this team's ceiling is what? Mm-hmm. It's not very high.
The only pushback I have is he average because it's his third collegiate game and things are still going fast. Going back to whenever you're paralyzing yourself by analyzing too much, that slows So is he actually a faster, better athlete? Will he be a much better athlete when the game slows down and he's not paralyzing himself by analyzing too much and he's just reacting? That alone, then he starts playing faster, and then do we see the real Zane Flores? So I'm not disagreeing that at this moment he's a very average quarterback. Everything he does look average. The only pushback I would have is that because the game is still too fast for him and that's making him think too much and therefore it's slowing him down? Or is it because this is just how talented he is?
I think what I will kind of argue that with is if you have Hosseini at your quarterback, the ceiling is higher, in my opinion.
For this team?
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
But
100%.
He also
But it's because of his
experience.
Skills. But it's because of his skills, the skill that he has, which is running the ball.
Right.
It's not necessarily because he's an overall better quarterback. It's because he does what this team needs, because we don't have great receivers. We don't have guys that can just go make a play. Our offensive line is very average. So the one guy that you have that actually can just go make a play is a quarterback that can run. It's the fit more than it is the talent.
I agree with that, because what I'm saying is those two guys, Hosseini may have played in one or two games last year, but what I'm saying, he never threw a collegiate pass until he was at Oklahoma State, Hosseini. if I'm correct. But
Yeah.
So
He also played UT Martin.
Yeah, essentially what I'm saying though is they have the
And he
same
got the scripted
experience.
plays against UT Martin.
Yeah, they have the same. What I'm saying is they have the same experience, but the ceiling is so much higher with Haas Haney as it is to Zane Flores. And I think that where football period is at right now, you don't get a whole lot of Zane Flores. You get a whole lot of Haas Haney. And what I mean by that is guys that can run, guys that are mobile, guys that can beat you with their feet at the quarterback position. That's where the game is trending. So where the frustration and the criticism comes from is I don't think that he fits the mold of even today's college football.
I have no pushback.
I really don't.
But I would say that's not on him. That's on the coaches for evaluating who fits better and who doesn't. Matter of fact, I think that's an argument to say, hey, get off his back. They chose him, and these are the skills that he has. It's not his fault that they chose him and put him in an offense that he's not perfectly suited for. That would be my pushback to that.
And we can agree on that 100% because it is not. It's not his fault that Oklahoma State chose to offer him and chose to pursue him as a quarterback because he, like you said, he does not fit this offense. He does not fit what Oklahoma State needs nor needed. Because if you go back to prior to Alan Bowman, you got a Spencer Sanders. You got another guy that's mobile that can make plays, and that's when mobile quarterbacks really started to come about. Was maybe 10 years ago. You went from more of a pocket guy to more of a guy that is mobile. Zane Flores is not a mobile guy. Zane Flores is more of a.
Oh, he's mobile. He's not a runner. I think he's very mobile.
Not mobile enough. I don't think he's mobile enough. I think he's
as mobile as Mason Rudolph.
He fits more. And
I think he's very similar to Taylor Cornelius. And Corndog was mobile. Of course, people are going to. He was a lightning bolt, but I think he's more mobile than you're giving. Now, is he a great runner? No, but I do think he's mobile. There's a big difference there.
I think that with his skill set, he is a guy, and I'm not saying that he could play at this level, but he's a guy that would fit more of a Big Ten offense, more of a ground and pound, and more of a hey, get the ball out kind of quick and things of that matter. You don't have a whole lot of explosiveness, in my opinion, when it comes to Big Ten football. You have a lot of power, you have a lot of quick reads, you have a lot of.
You didn't like what you saw out of Oregon?
Do what?
You didn't like what you saw out of Oregon's offense?
Oregon's an exception to that, to the Big Ten. What I'm talking about is a Michigan and Northwestern and all that crap.
I bring my A game giving you hell every time.
Okay, I'll say this: USC and Oregon do not count when I'm talking about offenses in the Big Ten.
Why not?
Because they're Pac-12.
They're not in the Big Ten.
They're Pac-12. They're Pac-12 football teams. People probably forgot about the Pac-12 by now, but no, I mean. Again, Oregon's an exception, but I think he would fit more of an offense that is a Michigan,
Iowa.
That is an Iowa that honestly doesn't do a whole lot with their quarterback. That's more of where he
game
fits.
Manager.
Yes, not a guy that's going to make a highlight reel play. That's not him.
I will say this, okay? I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life, and I will be wrong about many things in the future, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But we were not wrong on Rodney Fields. We were not wrong on Trent Howland. We have been saying all year long that Rodney Fields and Trent Howland need to be your two running backs. Said it point blank. I love Caleb Hicks, but I don't think he's a fit for what the offensive line can do for it. It's not a gap scheme. I think he's a gap scheme, one cut type of guy, and then get up to speed and use your speed from there. This offense needs a little quick guy that can sliver around in the zone scheme, and then they need the big back that can batter on up in there and get 2 or 3 yards. Also, Howland can catch the ball very well. His hands are really smooth. And so just that 1-2 combo, that thunder and lightning combo, man, that was a really fun thing to see. I know I said this last night, very impressed with how I feel like, Coach Meacham put in 5 or 6 really fun plays. But more than anything, he figured out who his 3 or 4 guys are that are his best players. Yeah. And he said, beyond anything, even if I don't know what play to call, I'm going to know who the ball needs to get to, and I'm going to call something that gets the ball into one of those guys' hands. I thought Coach Meacham did a masterful job of identifying who the best players in this offense were.
100%. You know, I have it right here. It says, I mean, Rodney Fields and Trent Holland are great 1-2 punch. Great. They complement each other so well, because they do completely different things. And this is something that we've talked about since the beginning of the year. But Trent Holland is your guy that, and honestly, I think he's gotten better. But he's a bruiser. I mean, he's a guy that's going to run and get you 3, 4, 5 yards, you know. And then Rodney Fields is so dadgum fast.
He's not fast. He's quick.
Yes, agreed.
Like you get him in the open, he's not all that
quick.
fast.
He has quick all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's extremely athletic. I think they complement each other extremely well. And Rodney Fields also showed that he can catch the
Put
football.
Haas Haney with those two, baby. Let's go.
That's
Now
what I'm
what you
saying.
need is a deep ball receiver that can high point those fade passes, maybe a tight end, and actually this offense starts looking pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Getting excited, man.
And I part of me, and this is my hot take for today's show. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Do you see Sam Jackson take 50% of the snaps at quarterback?
Why not? What would be your
I'm-
pushback against it?
I'm genuinely asking. That's a question
Hell
that I was
yeah,
asking
you do.
myself.
50% is probably a little bit too much. But
45, 40, 45.
25, 30. 25, 30% of your snaps are quite a bit because, I mean, you don't want him to be the one that gives every hand off. And you
Right.
got to set – so you got to have – so like the stretch play we mentioned last week, I wanted to see Zane Flores go under center, hand the stretch play, and then play action that and throw it deep. Well, we actually saw that. I mean, he didn't go under center, but we went pistol. And we ran the stretch play out of the pistol, and then we would throw it deep off that stretch play. So we actually did see that. So I say that to say if you're going to set up combinations like that and sequences like that for a Zane Flores, he's going to have to run 4 or 5 plays in a row just to get all those things set up. So from that aspect, I think he's going to get whereas with Sam Jackson, you don't set anything up. You just go to what he can do right then at that moment, and you run it the 10 to 15 times until the other team catches on. Then once they catch on, it's like bass fishing a farm pond, right? You're going to keep throwing that worm out there, that lure out there until they stop biting. And then you're going to move to a different spot of the pond and try to chase them around. That's Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson's a guy where you go to that farm pond, you throw out your line, and you catch a fish like for the first 10 times you throw it out there, and then the fish stop biting. That's what Sam Jackson is, which is why he's not like the 50-50 guy.
Yeah.
Is that like the dumbest analogy of all time?
No, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, especially in Oklahoma. I think, and again, like I said, it was my hot take. I would like to see him take 40% of the snaps behind center, just because it gives you so much different of a look, and he can throw the football. I'm not saying that it's as good as Zane Flores, because Zane Flores does throw the football better than Sam Jackson, just because of repetition and all those things. But at the same time,
So Sam Jackson throws better than Zane Flores runs. Put it to you that way.
yes, I would say so.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a stupid thing to say. I think that we were talking about running backs complementing each other. I think the quarterbacks in this situation, again, Sam Jackson's a receiver, but they almost complement each other in that way. And I'm not saying that every time that Flores is in, you're throwing the football, and every time Jackson's in, you're running the football. Mix it up a little bit. I mean, at this point, my opinion, you've got nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, throw it out there and kind of see what happens.
I think you have a lot to lose. If you're Doug Meacham, you have a ton to lose. Ton. These guys are – hey, Clint Bowen, Ryan Osborne, Doug Meacham, these guys are fighting for – these are big contracts, dude. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars. They got a lot to lose, man. I mean, Rodney Fields, if he wants to transfer like Dylan Smith or Zane Flores, I mean, would you predict that Zane Flores is going to finish his career at Oklahoma State?
No.
Okay, then he has a hell of a lot to play for.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'm just thinking in terms of short term, and I'm thinking short term. I'm thinking team. You don't have a whole lot to lose. You know what I'm saying? That they expect. What I'm saying is for this season, the expectation is not high from a fan base perspective. There's no pressure from a fan base perspective to perform.
I think the coaches feel that, but as a player, when you're 22 years old, is that something that goes into your mind?
No,
these people don't expect us to win. We're good. No, hell no, man.
No, I'm saying from a play calling perspective, from a personnel perspective, I think the season should be hey, let's figure out let's figure out who we've got, who we don't want to lose. In my opinion,
I would agree if Doug
get-
Meacham thought that he had a chance to be here next year.
I wouldn't hate if he stayed on as an offensive coordinator. I don't think that they'll
In some capacity. Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't think they'll give him the head job. I don't.
Oh, no.
I don't.
The guy who's going to get the head job is going to have head coaching experience and know how to handle donors, handle the donation aspect, and then the NIL aspect of being the face and getting in front of, if so-and-so wants to sign a contract, the head coach is going to go massage that and make everybody feel good about it. The next guy is going to be a guy that does all of that.
It has to be. I think you also have to hire a true general manager, a guy that is going to control all of your finances, kind of control all of your.
So the GM tells the head coach where he needs to go, what appearance he needs to make, what he needs to do. Hey, we're about to get this contract signed. If you could go over here and say hi and take a picture, I guarantee you can end the deal. That's what the GM needs to do. And then the coach just does what the GM tells him to do in terms of, hey, this is what we need from appearances for our NIL funds. The coach goes and does it, finishes the deal, and that's how that works symbiotically.
Yeah, again, where college football is going and where it's at, you've got to have one of those guys. It's too chaotic. It's too chaotic for just a head coach to control all of these things. In my opinion, I don't think that I don't even think it's smart to depend and rely on your head coach to do all of these things, because while he's worried about money, while he's worried about appearances, while he's worried about getting recruits, while he's worried about all this outside crap, he's also having to worry about what's going to happen on Saturday and what it is leading up to the season. If you have a guy that just kind of, again, a general manager that just kind of tells you where to go, what to do, what to say, all of those things, and the head coach can focus on football,
yes,
that's when you're going to be successful.
Yeah, what that general manager does is it makes sure that the coach is making all the appearances that they need to make to maximize the donor dollars, but he's doing it in the littlest amount of time possible. Like, this head coach doesn't have to make a phone call. He doesn't have to. All that head coach literally has to do is show up where the GM told him to show up, spend the hour wherever it's at, do all the PR stuff, say all your thanks, and do that. So what the GM's going to do is all the legwork to make it to where the next coach makes the public appearances that coach needs to make, but takes the littlest amount of time from them away from possible. Did I explain that right?
Yeah, 100%. One thing that we didn't talk about last time we were on a show, and I want to talk about it. Who are your head coaching candidates? Who would you like to see? And it can be fun or it can be realistic. I don't care.
Yeah.
Who are guys that come to mind for you?
I think what Oklahoma State, let me put it this way. I think what Oklahoma State's looking for, I think it's either going to be G.J. Kinney or I think it's going to be the name's escaping me. I'm old and I'm not very smart to begin with. But the guy that was a grad assistant at OSU that's at USF right now.
I'm blanking as well, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody with head coaching experience that will understand the NIL transfer portal, the how to deal with the GM, all that kind of thing. It's going to be somebody like that. Alex Golish.
Yeah, the guy from North Texas as well is another name that I've heard. And again, I'm saying this because
Eric Morris would be a good choice.
I don't think it's going to happen.
If you're going to go non-head coaching experience, it's a slam dunk for me. It's Colin Klein. Slam dunk. And the reason is Colin Klein will understand the Oklahoma State climate. It's all about it. He didn't come here, but he went to a sister school. I mean, you can say what you want. K-State and OSU are very similar. He's going to understand the culture around here. And then what he would do is he would make the program tough. We would be tough. So it's great to bring in a great offense, fine. But if you're scoring 65 points a game like we did in 2011 and you're scoring in 2 plays, that's not helping your defense. So one of the reasons why Texas A&M has gotten so much better this year is Colin Klein's offense is scoring 1 million points. No, not necessarily. But the style of offense that he has brought to A&M has allowed them to play better complementary football And because of the complementary aspect of it, A&M's actually better overall because of that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think if you're going non-head coach, agree, Colin Klein would be a good one. I think Ben Arbuckle would be an intriguing one. And I think the offensive coordinator at Oregon, I'm blanking on his name as well.
Yeah, I just don't think you can take the chance on a 30-year-old Ben Arbuckle who's a coordinator that I just – you're probably right, being the next Lincoln Riley, that kind of deal. But, man, okay, Chase, you can't get this decision wrong. If you get this decision wrong and it's 3 years from now and we're still at the bottom of the Big 12, Oklahoma State's getting ready to be in Conference USA. End of discussion. In 2030, when all the media rights come up and they're getting ready to redo the next – that's typically speaking when you do the next round of realignment – they're going to move this thing to about 64 teams. Oklahoma State should be in that. And if Oklahoma State hires the right guy, we go back to being in the Big 12 championship every 2 or 3 years. And we're what we have been, Oklahoma State will be comfortably in. If we get this wrong and we go hire a Ben Arbuckle and it's a disaster for a couple of years while he's trying to get his feet wet, Oklahoma State's getting ready to be in the wilderness. We're going to be like we were in the Missouri Valley back in the 50s and the 50s, okay? That's what's getting ready to happen to Oklahoma State. This is the most important hire ever, ever in the history of Oklahoma State University. There is zero margin for error. That's the situation Mike Gundy has left Oklahoma State in. Oklahoma State has zero margin for error. They have to get this hire right because they're firing all their bullets right now, having to pay off. They're having to pay this staff to leave, right? They're having to pay off Todd Grantham. They're having to pay off Mike Gundy. Then they're going to have to transition and pay a new staff. Then they're going to have to pay a whole new roster. So, yes, we have enough money to do that and still put the next coach in a good enough position to be competitive. But then if we get that one wrong and then we have to do that again, OSU's toast. Yeah. So they can't afford to take chances on this one.
The perspective that I'm coming from is it's a name that's hot right now. It's a guy that has energy. It's a guy you go Arbuckle or Klein.
Oh yeah.
It's a guy that's high. I think they're both high energy. It's a guy that's really starting to make a name for himself. Yeah. In college football.
I agree.
In terms of Ben Arbuckle, I need to relook at this, but I'm 95% sure that before he took the offensive coordinator job at Oklahoma, Washington State, where he was prior to that, had offered him and he had taken the head coaching job. Now, that's not as good a job as Oklahoma State, Washington State by any means. But at the same time, I don't think that if he wasn't at least somewhat ready for that, then that job would not have been offered to him. And, I don't know. But at the same time, you also –
they were grasping at straws.
You have –
Who else better could they get than a young up-and-comer like that? And who else are they going to get? They're either going to get a complete retread or, like an Ed Orgeron, somebody like that Bob Davies of 10 to 15 years ago that New Mexico went and got. Or they're going to go get a young and up-and-coming guy that has no other options in terms of a head coach. That's what that was. Oklahoma State's better than that. We can do better than that.
I agree. I just think that if you're coming from a recruiting standpoint, that would attract at least offensive recruits. You got a guy that they know is a young guy that's going to have a fun offense. That's a guy that you want to play for. That's going to have your back. That's going to get in a ref's face if he needs to. That's what you need. You need somebody like that, or you need, honestly, a guy with a little bit of a name. And this is not going to happen, but I think it would be fun. John Gruden would be fun.
No,
and Ed Orgeron would be fun.
How to handle Oklahoma State.
I think those two guys would be a blast. Do I think that they'll work? I shouldn't say work. Do I think that they would come here? No, but I think that it would be fun. Ed Orgeron knows how to recruit. And I think
the Zach Robinson deal, Zach has never been in the college game. He has no clue how the modern-day college athlete operates. Hey, I love Zach. I'm sure he's a great coach. Oklahoma State fans would love having Zach Robinson back. But you can't put a guy in charge that has no idea how to run a college program, has no idea how to be a head coach, has no idea how the NIL situation works, has no idea how the transfer portal works, and has no idea how college kids operate and tick these days. So here's my point. Let's say it's 5 years from now and Oklahoma State has made it into that 64, right? We're safe. Our final landing spot has been had. We've made the cut. We're in. At that point, if you're in the same situation with a Zach Robinson, I'd say go ahead, go get him. Hey, we have the ability to grow with it, like we did with Mike Gundy in 2005. We have the ability to grow with a guy like that. We are not in a position to grow with a coach at this moment. Oklahoma State has to go get a guy that from day one is plug and play.
Do you think, and this another guy that I just mentioned, do you think Ed Orgeron would be a terrible hire? Because
terrible. Absolutely horrendously bad. Horrendously bad.
I don't think it would be that bad. I really don't.
You like the retreads because you like the name aspect of it. The name aspect of it does nothing for me.
I think that it would help. I really do. I think in terms of he's won a national championship.
Help with what?
I think it would help with recruiting first off, and I think that it would help with showing that they'll
chance.
He's not going to be a cheap guy to get either.
Now, having an Ed Orgeron in your program, would it help somewhere in the chain of coaches? Yes. As your head coach, hell no.
I disagree.
If you want that, then pay your head coach a little bit less and pay Ed Orgeron a couple $1 million to be to be your defensive line coach or whatever you want him to be.
I think with he's won a national championship. He was the head coach.
And how did his last tenure end up?
Okay, here's my argument.
How did our defensive coach, the defensive coordinator, just got fired? How did his last tenure end up? You're going to sell that? Okay, so this is the most important hire in the history of OSU ever in any sport ever. Okay, and your solution to me is to go hire a guy that just got fired.
Yes, and here's my reason.
That's the way to convince me that that's what's going to get us to make the final 64 cut. I'm going to tell you to try again. Is what I'm going to tell you.
He got fired. He got fired because he lost over half of his dadgum starters.
I don't care.
To the NFL draft.
You know the last thing that I want to hear as an OSU fan right now? You want to know the last thing I want to hear?
Go ahead.
An excuse. That's the last thing I want to hear. I've heard enough excuses for the last 2 or 3 years. Though I love these unfiltered shows, by the way. It's like the competitiveness. These are so. It's the people watching are probably like, these guys suck ass. I'm turning, but I have fun, so that's fun. But the last thing that I want to hear as an Oklahoma State fan is a freaking excuse why the guy that we just hired got fired on his last, and that's the best we can do. That's the last thing I want to hear as an excuse. I don't give a shit. You may be completely right. I don't give a shit. I don't want a guy that got fired. I don't want Ed Orgeron. Even though it was funny as hell whenever he stopped his press conference and told all those people to shut the hell up because they were being too loud. That was a classic moment. I have much respect for that moment. That was awesome. Absolutely. Capital N, a big capital O, put 17 exclamation marks behind it. And I say that because this is our Unfiltered show.
Let me tell you what you're going to get. And again, we're just using Ed Orgeron for fun because he's not coming here. And if he does, I'll be happy. I know you'll be pissed, but that's okay. He's going to bring.
I won't be pissed, but I'll just be like, what the?
He would bring things such. He would bring cameras. He would bring attention to Oklahoma State. He would bring recruits, and he would bring a track record of proving that he can win at a high level.
Do you think Ed Orgeron recruited above or below the typical LSU standard?
I think right at it. But if you're looking,
why when you say recruit, he was for LSU standards, he was either an average or below average recruiter for their standards.
I don't know because listen, what they had on the national championship team, they had Joe Burrow, who he
didn't recruit any of those guys.
He had Jamar Chase, and he had
Did he
Justin
recruit
Jefferson.
any of those guys? So what happened whenever the guys that he recruited became the starters at LSU?
He recruited Burrow. I know for a fact he did.
As a transfer from Ohio. I think Burrow was a transfer from Ohio State.
From Ohio State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wrong on that?
Yeah. And here I don't know if he recruited Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but I do know that was one of the best college football teams that I've ever seen, offensive wise. I mean, it was. I appreciated them just beating the living shit out of OU. That was absolutely fantastic. He did recruit. I'm wrong. He recruited Joe Burrow. Yeah. Although he was already a transfer from Ohio State, and the recruitment focused on him joining the LSU
for the last 2 seasons. He used the crawfish-focused recruiting tactic to win over Burrow. And that is straight out of the AI there of Google. So if you want to say I'm the Google master, have right at it, because that's where I got that out of.
I think he knows how to connect. He also knows how to connect with younger guys because his son is a young coach down in Miami, I believe. He's going to be a guy that mentioned that he has an
Okay, Chase, you're Chad Weiberg. This is the most important hire of all time. You have your pick of who you want, okay? Everybody that we've mentioned is a yes, has said yes to you. Are you pulling the trigger on Ed Orgeron?
I'm in a different mindset than a lot of people are.
Yes or no? Is he your guy? If everybody else is a yes too, is he your guy?
I have a top two. It's 2 guys that I've already mentioned, and Ben Arbuckle and Ed Orgeron. Those would be my top 2 candidates. And people are going to call me crazy and stupid, but that's okay. I don't really care.
You've been called a lot worse than that.
Well, I think if you were to ask me to choose between Arbuckle and Orgeron, I would choose Arbuckle. But if you're asking me to choose between an Orgeron and this is gonna cause a lot of havoc. If you're asking me to choose between Ed Orgeron and Zach Robinson,
why would you not choose G.J. Kinney over both of them? The dude's been a head coach. He knows the Texas. Where is all of our recruits going to come from, Chase? Where have they come from for the last 100 years?
Texas.
Okay. So where is G.J. Kinney from? Where is he coaching at right now?
Texas.
Where did he play college football?
Did he play in Texas?
He played at Tulsa, so he knows the area.
Tulsa?
He knows. So he recruited. So the 2 main areas where Oklahoma State gets players, right? Okay. Tulsa and Texas. Ding, ding with G.J. Kinney. Okay. He has elevated. You want to know the one team that almost beat Arizona State last year? Matter of fact, they had them beat down there in San Marcos.
I know that
was
for sure.
Texas State. Okay.
Yeah.
He's elevated Texas State. He's got them into a new conference because they've been so good, right? He is as Okie Light's saying here, he knows how to fundraise. He has a fun offense. He knows how to be a head coach. He knows the landscape for recruiting. Why in the hell would you choose either one of those 2 guys over him?
I misspoke is what happened, but what I'm saying, I would rather have a G.J. Kinney over an Ed Orgeron, but
you'd rather have either one of them over Golish?
I'm high on Ben Arbuckle. I don't know why. I like the offense. I like kind of his attitude.
They've beaten Auburn so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Auburn is not very good.
I like the way that he interacts with his players. I like the energy that he gives. I like the offense that he
does
runs.
that as an assistant. That's totally different as a head coach.
But I don't think guys lose that.
I think there's a certain amount of it you have to, because you can't be their friends. When you're a position coach, you can be their friend. You know that.
Right.
You know that. You know your relationship with your pitching coach. When you're the head coach, okay, that's the Mike Boynton effect. Mike Boynton was an awesome dude. He was positive. He was always energetic. He was always giving guys high fives. You know how well that worked? You know what? You want to know why? Because he was their friend instead of their coach many times, in my opinion.
There's a difference between
so that tells me Mike Boynton is elite assistant coach. He's going to recruit his ass off. He's going to have great relationships with his players. Not a good head coach.
There's a difference between being a player's coach and being a friend of a player. I think, and to give an example of that,
and you don't know which one Arbuckle is because you've never seen him be a head coach. That's my point.
Right, but you also look at a Dan Lanning he's a phenomenal players coach, great coach. I'm not saying that Ben Arbuckle is going to be your next Dan Lanning, but the
how do you know Dan Lanning's a great coach? By the way,
have you not seen what he's doing?
Yeah, I've seen the money they put into that. I've seen the roster they put around him.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, if he had Oklahoma State's players this year, what would our record be with Dan Lanning?
I don't think
you don't know if he's a great coach or if he's at Oregon and they have way better players than everybody, and they're just beating people because he has better players. You don't know.
Respectfully,
that's why. Also, I think if you go to a Power 5, if you go to an SEC assistant coach, that's where you kind of do get a little bit of of gray area because that coach is used to dealing with a higher caliber of athlete than Oklahoma State's going to have. And we don't know how that coach is going to react to only having 2 or 3 playmakers versus an entire offense filled full of SEC-type talent.
But where was he before the SEC?
I don't know, actually.
He was at Washington State. He was in the Pac-12.
Okay. Well, then there you go. There you go.
And that's where I'm coming from. Is I'm not saying that he's going to be some great head coach, but he had a.
You talking about Arbuckle?
Yes.
Oh, I was talking about Dan Lanning.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on two separate.
Yeah,
we're on two separate things.
I just. There's too many. You could be right. He could be a great head coach. There's too many variables to a guy like Ben Arbuckle that could go wrong. And you just can't get this one wrong. It has to be the most slam dunk. If it's not going to be a slam dunk, okay, Chase, here, let me put you this way. If it's not going to be a slam dunk, meaning it's not going to be a G.J. Kinney or a Golish, a head coach somewhere that OSU fans are going to go, okay, this guy knows how to run a college program. That's the slam dunk, okay? It's not necessarily the home run, but it's the slam dunk. Does that make sense? Yeah. If it's not that guy, if you're going to go outside the slam dunk realm, it has to be Zach Robinson because of the name.
Yeah, see, here's where I disagree with how things have gone at Oklahoma State, period. It's okay to go outside of your bubble and get something that
totally
is
agree.
Not graduated from.
I would rather they do. I would rather they get G.J. Kinney. Zach Robinson's about a choice number 3 or 4 for me right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. If you're going back to Dan Lanning, you asked me the question of what would the record be with the players that Oklahoma State has with Dan Lanning. With Dan Lanning, we would not have Oklahoma State's current players. No,
you don't know that.
With all due respect.
You don't know that.
I firmly believe that. I think he'd be a much better recruiter. But again, I'm trying to think in the perspective of who are kids going to come and play for in Stillwater, Oklahoma? Is it going to be a guy that's a young guy that could have that shows he has fun and all of these things? And I'm not saying that G.J. Kinney is a bad option by any means, because I think he'd be a good head coach.
It's a great option. It's a great head coach.
I think in my realistic mind, that's going to be our head coach next year.
I hope so.
I mean that if I'm being just, if I'm not having any fun with it, if I'm just saying this is what's going to happen, that's
we wouldn't have a podcast, which I don't know if we have a podcast anyways. I don't know if anybody's watching anyways, but we damn sure wouldn't have anybody if that was okay. Well, here's the 2 coaches we think we should get. See you later.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's the thing though is I'm trying to think from the perspective of a recruit. Who would I want to come play for? Who has fun with their guys?
Okay, you're looking at it as a young guy.
Right.
I'm looking at it as a overall more mature. That sounds terrible.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, because I'm looking at it like, okay, fun, yes, awesome. Go get a offensive coordinator that does all that. That's what I'm thinking, right? Go get. You're saying that Ben Arbuckle from an offense. So get an offensive coordinator that does all that. What I'm thinking of is I need the guy that can go to the donors, the older donors, and look at them and they go, you know what? I can trust you that you're going to do the right thing. I can trust you that even if we don't win a national title, it's still going to be a really nice program. You're going to give us the best chance. So I'm looking at the guy that's going to open the donor's pocketbook that they are going to trust, that's going to get them back in the trust tree, because unless you get the donors back in the trust tree, Chase, it doesn't make a crap who you hire. Right. Oklahoma State's not going to win because you're not going to have the funds to do it with. So this hire doesn't need to be, hey, he's fun, hey, he's exciting, hey, it needs to be, hey, this is the guy that the donors will get excited about. This is the guy that will open the pocketbooks, and this is the guy that will build the roster that will give the next head coach the opportunity to have success. Then from the chain there, then at that point, once you open the donors, then you go pay $1 million or $2 million for that young, fun offensive coordinator that can do all the things that you're talking about.
No, I get it. It's just, I think it's going to be hard to get an offensive coordinator like that at Oklahoma State right now.
Oh, no way. That'll be easy. Well, look at all the different offensive coordinators that Oklahoma State had that turned out to be head coaches. If you go and be an offensive coordinator over a great head coach, okay, that is the best thing you can possibly do for your career. Best thing possible.
I see. I think the route. I'm the risky route. You're the safe route. Is what it all boils down to.
We're not in position to be risky. I'm just telling you, we're not. They have to get this right.
But how risky? It's going to sound stupid.
Ben Arbuckle is very risky. Very risky.
It is, but I also think it's fun and exciting, and I think that's what's going to.
You think the Conference USA is fun and exciting? Would that be exciting?
Listen, that's what's gonna get you into the 64. Let me tell you why. People are going to show up to games because they're excited for your coach.
They're not going to show up if you lose.
Well, but here's the thing: players are going to want to come to your school because you have a young, exciting coach. Mm-hmm. He's going to be all over ESPN. Oklahoma State's going to be all over ESPN because of all of these things that I'm mentioning. That is, these guys are exciting. This is an exciting new head coach.
You know what gets you on ESPN? If you're Oklahoma State,
winning games.
Winning.
Yeah. But
that's what gets you on. Being in the Big 12 championship game, being in the next big conference realignment. That's what gets you on.
Who's to say that he couldn't do that?
Nobody. I'm not saying he may be he may actually be the best guy but there's just too much risk to that right now for what Oklahoma State needs, in my opinion. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
all of this.
We're not in a position now. Hey, like I said, if we're already in the final, if we already made the cut of the final realignment, and we're in the final 64. I'm all for, hey, go get the Ben Arbuckle. Let's see what we can do with that guy. But right in front of that, trying to stabilize things, okay, I think it's okay even just go get the guy before the guy. We need the guy that'll just get us back to respectability that might get us in a conference championship game once or twice just to get us into that final round of realignment. And then maybe you can go get the guy that you take a risk on. That's what I'm saying.
I think the other thing, too, that in my mind that I think about is if you go and you get – the Ben Arbuckle, you're getting a guy that you're right, he has not been a head coach, but that guy is going to be hungry as heck because he wants to prove that he can do it. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not saying that is the best option, the best possible hire. That would be the one that I think was fun.
Yeah. But I'm for either G.J. Kinney or Eric Morris or Golish. I mean, I just think it's that easy. And then if you go outside of that box,
my choice out of those three.
Huh?
So I said G.J. Kinney out of those three would be my choice.
If you go outside that box, I think it's Zach Robinson. If he would take the job, which I still don't think he would, but that's how that goes. Hey, man, my Dodgers dogs are about to wear me out. So we've had an awesome show. This is our Unfiltered show. That's why we go back and forth. We cut each other off a lot and that kind of deal, and we have a good time. And it's probably really annoying, but that's okay because I have a hell of a good time, Chase.
Yeah, it's fun for sure.
Hey, brother, anything you want to finish here with?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to Saturday. As silly as that sounds, I want to see fun football. I got to watch fun football somewhat on Saturday, and that was kind of refreshing. So I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Hey, appreciate you, brother.
Yep.
Go Pokes.
Yes, sir.